So if you're out there looking for a really great camera to buy and you've got 25,000 rand that you need in order to buy the camera, I want to let you know that this one's probably the best option. How's it guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. I'm a growing filmmaker and editor with a heart and passion just to teach people how to grow in their filmmaking and editing skills. Firstly, before I get started, please think about subscribing to my channel. If you've looked at my content and seen it before and it's something you enjoy, subscribing by clicking that red button at the bottom would just go a long way in helping me out. So, I got a brand new camera, Fujifilm X-S10, SX10, SX. So I've had the Fuji XS10 for about a week now, and I just want to let you guys know what I found so far. If you saw my previous post, I'm pretty stoked about this thing. I'm pretty excited. It's just a very cool camera. I actually wasn't going to go for the Fujifilm. Fujifilm wasn't even on my list. Luckily, just before I was about to buy it, I was chatting to my friend Josh, and he told me all about it.
Hey, my bro.
Hey Josh, how's it going, bro?
Good, thanks. And you, dude?
Yeah, sweet. So I got some cool news. I'm thinking about buying the Sony A6100. Huh?
Oh, that's pretty cool, bro. But have you heard of the Fujifilm XS10?
Nah, what's it got?
Bro, you should check it out. It's got 4K 60, IBIS, F-log, bro, and you can shoot 1080 at 240 frames a second.
What? When I heard 240 frames per second at 1080p quality, I was sold. I know what you're gonna say. That's a rookie error. I don't care. You see, my film style, how I like to do things is I absolutely love slow-mo and speed ramps. And maybe it's just a phase that I'm going through as a filmmaker. I don't care. It's something that I really enjoy. So not just that, but it's got IBIS, it's got 4K up to 30 frames. It can shoot 60 frames per second at 1080p, 120 frames per second at 1080 quality. So all around it's just an absolute beast of a camera. So I want to break it down. This is not an official review. This is just what I've learned from being with this thing for a week. The first one is this, the ergonomics, or the grip on this camera. It's amazing. If you look at it this way, it's got a piece where the battery goes into that sticks out, so it can look kind of clunky and weird, but when you put your hand on this thing and you just hold it, it just feels good. It just feels right. It feels like I don't know, right. It's like it belongs. It's like we belong. And then on top of that, you got IBIS, and it's great. It works well. I've seen footage of myself shooting handheld, and I'm pretty shaky. This is something I got to get better at. But the difference between this camera and the previous camera that I was using is chalk and cheese. This one just is so stable, so smooth. I've actually got a gimbal which I need to put it onto. So when I got IBIS and a gimbal together, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get buttery smooth footage. But I've just been impressed by the IBIS on this thing. It's really good. So if you're a beginner filmmaker and that's something you don't want to have to worry about, it's all the warp stabilizers and all of that stuff, this camera is great just because of its IBIS. Another thing for me that's great about this camera is just its look. I kind of like the retro look that Fuji's got going on. I will admit this one is a little bit more modern than its predecessors, but it still keeps a bit of that retro vibes going with it. I think it's the flash compartment at the top and just the look and feel. It just feels like an old school camera in your hands, but it's not old school in its methods or what it puts out. It's very new school. It's all up to date with some of the latest technology, but it just feels good. And then slow-mo. This is what I want to get into. I absolutely love my speed ramps and my slow motion. So this thing does obviously 4K quality up to 30 frames per second, and then it gets into 1080p quality for the rest, so it can do 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, and 240 frames per second, and it just looks good. It looks amazing. I'm like, I absolutely love it. Give me slow-mo any day. Give me some sort of action, and when you slow down, it just looks good. It makes your stuff look quality. That's just me. That's just my video style. For you, it might be different. You might like the cinematic 24 frames per second. And that's what this camera does, and it does it in 4K quality too. So you can get the best of both worlds. If you just want to keep it all natural, 24 frames per second, even 30 frames per second, you get great 4K quality. But at the same time, if you want to hit those beautiful slow-mo clips, can do it too. Another thing that's great about it is it's got, woohoo, Flippy Screen. I love Flippy Screens, it's just so cool. I'm not a vlogger myself, it's not my style. I like to create stories and videos. But just to have this is great. Like I can, if I need to get into weird angles and I need to see or monitor the shot on this side of the camera, it's just so easy because it's right there. I don't need to plug in a new monitor, try to set that thing up next to me. It's just right here. It flips to any angle, any degree. And also on the side here, which is really clever, they've put a mic jack in. This was well thought out because this mic jack is just above the Flippy screen. So if I turn it like this, any mic input that's in there is not going to get stuck or in the way of my Flippy screen. So good job, Fuji, well done on that one. Another thing, it's got a little joystick here, which fits right by your thumb. So if I'm holding the camera like this, I can just reach for that joystick, play around with things. If I'm got it open and I want to find a focus point, I can just move it around. Just really easy to go between menus and anything that I need to get to. Also, the screen is touch. It's a touch screen, so it's customizable. So there's certain areas that you want to be touch and other areas you don't. If you want to just touch to focus and then keep it on manual focus, you have that option too. So it's just very cool. Well done, Fuji. And then the autofocus on this thing is amazing. I'm gonna probably do a video just talking about the autofocus, but I've played around with it and it is just so crisp, so quick and so fast. You hold it onto a subject and onto an area that you want it to focus on, and it locks on, and if you move the camera it changes really quickly. You can also adjust the speed that you want the autofocus to change, which is great because I have spoken about autofocus and how I don't use autofocus. I'm just a manual focus shooter, except for vlogs. That's a great time to use autofocus if you want to keep your face in focus. But I like to use manual focus. But it's just a cooler option because sometimes when you use autofocus, it's almost like a robotic type style when the focus changes from one thing to another. Looks like really amateurish, almost like somebody shot it with their camera. You know how camera phones change autofocus from one to the other. It can jump a lot. This has the option to change that, so you can actually change it really slowly and then move from one to the other. Just a good option to have. It's not necessary. I would say shoot in manual focus though, but the autofocus is just great. And then a little downsides to this camera. I mean, there weren't many. It's actually a great camera, but the one thing is this. Maybe because I'm new to Fuji, but I had no idea where to put the SD card. I looked on the side, there's a little flap here for your HDMI and your USB-C inputs. There's no other flaps besides the battery, and I opened the battery up and I saw there was a little slot here, and I was a bit scared to put the SD card in at first because I thought, what happens if I mess this up? But it is the SD card slot. You only have one SD card slot, unfortunately. So you got your battery in there, and right next to it is a little slot for your SD card, which pushes in. Another negative, this is me just being lazy, but I would love for this flap to close and for it to stay there. It's just And then two other things is after 30 minutes of shooting, the video stops and it doesn't continue shooting. It literally stops and you have to start a new video. So that's a little bit of a downside and maybe something just to be aware of. And then the last thing is the battery sucks. It's not a good battery, so I would say buy extra batteries. I'm already looking at buying some extra batteries for this thing because the battery's not very good. It doesn't last very long. However, you can plug in a USB-C cable in order to charge it while it's running. So there is that option too. Overall, I absolutely love this camera. I think it's beautiful. It's a small mid-range camera that's got really, really good features on it. Overall, for this camera, for its price, what you pay for it, for the lens that comes with it, for all of the features that it has, the IBIS, the 4K, the 60 frames, the 120 frames, the 240 frames, the Flippy Screen, the customizable dials, all of it, for its price, I don't think you can get better than this. Like, honestly, I think this might be one of the best mirrorless cameras out there currently for its price range. And man, when I think about it, what a flippin' camera. Hey, if you like my channel, if this has been helpful for you and it's given you value, please would you subscribe, like this video and share it around. But that's it from me. See you guys soon. Peace.